We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Mitch. Got some pictures with this one too. Mitch says, last week we helped him sort through the various standard Marantz receiver models to replace Mitch's aging 4308. Since his system was professionally calibrated using Odyssey Pro, Mitch wants to know if another professional audio calibration with the new receiver would be worth it, especially now that Odyssey Pro is going away and being partially replaced with the Odyssey smartphone app. Can you even do the professional calibration with
Well, I mean,
receivers?
not full out Odyssey Pro. You could still have a professional calibrator come in and tune your system for you.
Yeah, but it's not through Odyssey though.
It's not through Odyssey.
Like,
no,
it's just
no.
So no is the answer to this question. Do we think another professional audio calibration would be worth it? I mean, they'll come in,
Yeah.
and they'll set your speakers up, which you can do.
No, I mean, the thing is, he's already done all the speaker positioning and acoustic treatment. Like, that is the really worthwhile stuff from a pro calibrator.
That's the stuff they're going to do, yeah.
The running the EQ is, like we say, the cherry on top. And, I wouldn't pay for a whole new thing. I mean, you got the big value, which was you had someone professionally position and tune your room. That's really worthwhile stuff.
Yeah.
Doing the EQ, I really believe, especially with Multi-Q XT32, that practically holds your hand all the way through.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
By the way, this was the guy who had the very nicely vacuumed room and the panels that you said should be all at the same height.
Oh yeah.
That's Mitch.
He didn't like that. Or he did like that. Or his audio calibrator didn't like it.
He enjoyed that. So yeah, the picture with the at the different height. Then he sent us a picture. This was the week you were away. He sent us a picture where he moved all the panels, but he hadn't vacuumed quite as nicely. So James and Lee and I were all very offended. So he sent us a newly updated picture where he vacuumed the nicest yet. The nicest yet he has vacuumed, and the panels are all at the same height. So it is glorious. We have.
Oh my goodness! I have to see this now. I'm sorry. My OCD kicked in, and I hate it when people say my OCD. Like OCD is a thing that it's just something that people have.
Right,
it's no big deal. It is a big deal. I understand that. I mean, I have a master's in psychology. I'm not unaware of it, but when I looked at that, I was like, oh, okay, we have to. Yes, okay. Yes, I remember. I have this open already.
Yeah.
But yes, they're at the same height. They look so good.
Yep.
It's very vacuumed.
Very.
Wait, vacuumed. Oh, he even moved his speakers that time. It looked like he moved his speakers to vacuum on that one. All right, I will stop looking at that now. Anyways, I got to scroll. So anyways, he says he doesn't care about Hios or Aura 3D, and he's using front wide speakers. His display's projector, so Dolby Vision isn't really concerned either. He doesn't have any external amplification, but he's always kind of wanted separates. So what should he buy? I did an X6300H that can power all 11 of his speakers itself. A Marantz SR7011 plus an Emotiva or amplifier. Could the less expensive X4300H or SR6011 plus an external amp sound just as good? And at the end of it all, it's the sound quality that concerns Mitch the most. What speakers does he have again? Do we remember what these are?
Gosh, I don't remember. Wasn't it B&Ws, I think?
Yeah.
Can't remember
okay.
offhand. I think it was.
I'm trying to look at them and see if I can figure out what they are. But
I can't quite tell just from looking at them.
No, they're just brown. But I think they are B&Ws, though. Now that I think about it, I think they are. But he sits really close to everything.
No,
I'm having a hard time.
He's quite far away.
Is he really? Not to his sides and surrounds. But
you
I
can
can't
see.
tell from
You
the
can
front.
see how far he is with those seats away.
Right,
so yeah, my honest opinion is. Once you start actually trying to drive more than 7 speakers with pretty much any AV receiver, like even if it has 9 or 11 amps built in, my experience has been that the noise floor really does start to audibly go up like exponentially, because every speaker is also a microphone, and that back signal is going back into the AV receiver, and it starts to overcome its damping factor, which isn't as high as an high-end external amp. I mean, if you need to power all 11 speakers off of the AV receiver, I understand that, and the 6300 is a nice way to be able to do that. But in this situation, it's not what I would top recommend, not for that money. You could get the combo of an X4300H and an external amp for less than the individual price of the X6300, and in my opinion, it would actually sound better. So if it's all about the sound quality, I would go for one of the less expensive ones. There really isn't much need to go for one of the flagships. I'd go for one of the less expensive ones, and I'd add an external amp to it. I actually think that will sound better.
I've talked about this in this podcast since long before Rob was ever around, and that is this. What you need to do is figure out what your feature sets are that you need, and make a list of the receivers that have that. Okay,
right.
So you've already told us a couple things that you don't care.
All identical. Yeah.
Right. So you need You need to be able to power up to. You got 7.2. You would have like 7.2.4. Right. So it would be nice to have Odyssey Multi-Q XT32. All right. You're going to want that,
which they all do.
Yep. Which they all do. You're going to want to have outputs for an external amplifier for at least 2 channels, because if you want to take some of that burden away, you can power your mains that way, which I think they all do. You want to have the ability to do HDMI 2.0 A or whatever it is, and HDCP 2.2, which they all do.
They all do.
So you don't have to worry about Dolby Vision. You don't have to worry about the other stuff. So what it comes down to is, how many channels of amplification do you want to buy outside of this? Because what you've really done by not caring about Dolby Vision, not caring about some of these other features that you talked about, and the fact that, like with our last caller or questioner, they really like Yamaha. Well, Yamaha, in order to do the things that they want to do, they got to get a specific receiver, which is one of their flagship ones. You are fortunate that you're not in that boat. You can get something much lower down the line. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to get just the features you need. This is not like some sort of esoteric amp, talk where, the stuff that you don't need because you're not using it and it's in there, it's going to mess up the stuff you aren't using. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, don't pay for stuff you're not going to use. So get this one that just has what you need and nothing else, and then buy the amplifier on top of it.
Yeah, if you're okay with the little porthole display, the SR6011 has all the features you would need. You add a nice external amp to that, and it'll sound better, in my opinion, than the X6300H alone.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So he says, if he chooses a set that uses an external amp, which should he get? 2-channel, 3-channel, 5-channel, Emotiva, Outlaw, Monoprice, Monolith. There are a lot of choices. That is true.
You don't need to go nuts. You don't.
You do sit, like I did, but look back at the pictures. You do sit quite a bit away from your front speakers, which I do believe are B&Ws. So you're going to want to look at your efficiency of those speakers, and most amplifiers of any of a reasonable quality are going to have no problems driving those to levels that you are going to be okay with. I don't remember this guy being like, I need super bass. I remember him being a little bit more reasonable about these things. So I would, you could buy something like 2-channel or 3-channel. Now, this is a rabbit hole that I went down recently, and Rob pulled me out of it. So I was, I went with, I'm going to do surround, front heights, basically. So I'll just get an amplifier for that. Oh, well, if I'm getting an amplifier for that, I might as well get an amplifier. Maybe I can get like a 2-channel amplifier, run my mains, and then I'll just use the amps that are in there to run everything else. Oh, well, my receiver won't do that. So if I'm going to do that, I need to be able to run the surround. So if I'll get a 4-channel amp, like, no one sells 4-channel, I'll buy 5-channel, and then I'll be able to run all the 5 regular speakers and just use a receiver for this. And pretty soon I had like a $2,000 amp on my my box, and I was like, wait a second, I started off at $100. How did I get here again? So went back through the whole process in reverse. Rob is like, dude, you just need this. That's all you need. And I got the $100 Dayton Audio amp just for my front height speakers. So I would be okay with you getting, however much amplification that you are comfortable spending money on. All of the ones that you are talking about here, Emotiva, Outlaw, and especially the Monoprice Monolith, which, by the way, I think are a lot more expensive than the other two that you have mentioned. Yeah. But those are basically APA amps, and they are probably as quiet as they get. They're going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, those are some ATI built amplifiers there.
ATI, I said APA. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
ATI.
But I mean, he was like, Emotiva, he wasn't just considering the base X series. He might be looking at the XPA Gen 3s, in which case those are more expensive than the monoprice monolith.
Right,
so,
right.
I really don't think you need that amount of amplification. I could see going for more than just 2 channels, because that would mean powering 9 speakers with just the receiver and only 2 with the external amp. But certainly, like, even just a 3-channel amp would be totally sufficient, because that could power your front 3 speakers, which takes the bulk of the load off of your AV receiver. It really does.
Yeah, as long as
those information going to surround backs, overheads.
Those receivers can reassign those amps to Atmos speakers and everything else. Because like I said, my receiver won't do that. My receiver won't take the amps that are going to the mains and center
these ones can.
and reassign them.
I'd go for an Emotiva A300. It's 150 watts per channel for $400.
Yeah, more than you need.
So fine with that. Yeah, that's what I'd go for.
All right, Mitch says he doesn't have a bat cave, but he does have dual mode blinds that can black out the house. He decided to save the $3,000 and go with the JVC DLA X570R projector anyways, though. So now he needs advice on the screen. So the fact that he says anyways, does that mean that this is one of those light cannon ones?
No, he was considering going up to the X770. For an extra $3,000. Some of the advice that I gave when Lee and James were here was that if you don't really have like a bat cave of a theater, you might not even see the advantage of the slightly lower black level and slightly higher contrast.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, I'll just save the $3,000 and get the X570, which I think is a very smart choice.
All right, so he was thinking about going with the Stewart Studio Tech 130, but realized that's a bit expensive. Now he's thinking about Silver Ticket. He sort of praised, us and others praised the Silver Ticket many times, but is there a better option at a price somewhere between it and the Stewart that you consider instead? That's kind of a weird thing to ask for, don't you think?
Well, because
it's like, I want to spend more because I think this is too cheap.
But it's also, is there something that's actually objectively better than what Silver Ticket sells, but not as expensive as Stewart? That's a fair question.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's not okay. And I know what you're going to recommend, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And it's a great company, and the guy who owns it is a great guy. So I'm okay with you making this recommendation. But to me, the kind of benefits that you're going to get are going to be ones that are objectively true, but maybe not subjectively noticeable all that much, depending, you know what I mean? I don't think that if you bought a Silver Ticket and put it in your theater and lived with it for, a year and then bought one of these other screens and put it in your theater and lived with, and, you would go, oh yeah, that's way better. You'd go, that is also a screen that I am now looking at.
When Chris Heinonen did a big shootout of a lot of screens, he was like, objectively, the Stewart Studio Tech was the most color neutral, free of any type of texture on the screen or anything like that. It was also 10 times more expensive than the other screens he was looking at.
Right.
He was the one who actually, turned me on to Silver Ticket and many, many other people. He's like, compared to all the other inexpensive screens out there, this is easily the best one. It has some color shift. Compared to the Studio Tech, it is not 100% color neutral like the Studio Tech is. It has a little bit of color shift. It has a tiny bit of texture on the screen. If you get close enough, maybe you could possibly see it. But you put it all together, it's a really good screen at an incredibly low price that is bettered only by something that costs more than 10 times more. All right. So, like Karada was an example of a screen that was a little bit better and cost a little bit more, not as much as Stewart. Karada's out of business. You go to their website, they're out of business.
Are they really?
Yep, they closed up shop.
Oh, that's too bad.
So Seymour AV is essentially the company we point to, because like when Chris Heinonen did the shootout, the Silver Ticket for just a standard fixed frame white screen actually beat Elite screens, which was more expensive than Silver Ticket. So, for just that basic thing, I mean, we still love Elite screens because they offer things that Silver Ticket doesn't, other form factors. But, when it just came to a fixed frame white screen, Silver Tickets was actually a little bit better and cost less. But Seymour AV is another one of these companies that's less expensive than Stewart, but objectively is a little bit better. And maybe the frame is a little bit nicer as well, that type of thing. So if you really just want something that's objectively a little bit better, the frame's a little bit nicer,
then Silver Ticket, not then Stewart, right?
Then Silvertick, yeah, I can easily recommend Seymour AV. They make excellent screens.
They do,
with very nice frames. But if you get the silver ticket, I highly doubt you'll be actually disappointed by the performance. So
that's the deal. Okay, so and I'm going to say this again. Chris, who owns Seymour AV, is a great guy. I mean, I really like him. I used to play on Xbox Live with him all the time. Played Rock Band, played all sorts of stuff. Talked to him a bunch. He's a really good guy, and I have no problems recommending his products. So please buy from him. But I still maintain that subjectively the difference that you're going to notice is negligible. So he asked if the silver ticket is the best option, which we've already said it's not the best. It's just money-wise. It's
value-wise very
hard to beat. What's the difference between the white screen and the high contrast screen material? Is the high contrast stuff the gray stuff? Is that right?
Gray. It's
yeah.
gray. Okay.
So the idea with the high contrast is that you're in a location where there's little light control, right?
You got some ambient light.
So you're trying to get good black levels. You can't get good black levels off a white screen if there's ambient light reflecting off the screen. So the high contrast blocks that out by having a gray screen. Lowers.
Well, it doesn't block it out. It's just
not block it, but
get your viewing environment the way it's gonna be when you watch a movie. Now look at the screen without the projector even on.
Yes.
That is the blackest black you could possibly see, because you can't project black. You can only project not light, right? So get your environment where it's going to be. Look at your screen. Does it look black? If the answer is yes, then stick with a white screen. If the answer is no, then you go for a tinted screen that looks closer to black. That's really the only reason to get a gray screen.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the default black level.
The reality, though, is it's 99% of the time you're not going to really notice it. I mean, you're just not. I mean, I don't think so.
You say
unless
you
have
really
a lot
darken
of
your
light.
room.
If your room gets awfully
screen.
dark and it's nighttime when you're watching stuff, I would not worry about it. Not even a little bit. So he asks, wait a second here. Yes, okay, I'll make sure I didn't skip one. He can remove the ceiling fan, because he does have a ceiling fan in this room, if necessary, although he'd prefer to keep it if possible. Is it possible? Sir, all things are possible.
Looks like
anything's
it. Sure
possible.
Looks like. I mean, he's got a little bit of room behind his seats in an area that nobody is walking behind those seats, I can't imagine.
These ceilings look higher than normal as well. So what you might end up doing, and this is what I'm doing in my home theater, because your ceiling fan is pretty much flush. It's not that much bigger than mine, but your lighting kit on that thing is hanging very low. Yeah. So what you might do is just remove the light fixture part of it and put some lamps in your room. Okay?
Yeah.
That you turn on and off either manually or hook them up to a light switch or something like that. Then you keep the ceiling fan. You take that cord right there and you chop it down just as much as you can, or you, again, attach that. You use a light switch with that to turn it on and off, and you never have to worry about that again. And because you don't want that cable hanging down, you'll have to do it that way. Or just, I mean, I looked into this, like really flush mounted ceiling fans are expensive. It's like our short throw projectors. It's hard to find. Those things are expensive because they do this one thing really well. Well, finding a ceiling fan that has a light on it that is only a couple of inches off the ceiling is nigh impossible, and they're like $700, and they may not fit into your decor. Like they would fit into mine because they're all very industrial looking, but it doesn't. I don't know what the rest of your decor is like, so they might not fit into yours, and they're real expensive. I'm not paying $700 for a stupid ceiling fan when I get one for like $60 from Home Depot. So I'm going to take the lighting fixture part off of it and mount it as close to the ceiling as I possibly can, which you already seem to have done. I removed the string, or I shortened it as much as I could and still reach it. And if that means you have to pull in a step stool every time you want to change the fan settings, that's okay too. Because how often do you really change the fan settings? Because I don't know if you're like me, I almost never change them. On off is good for me. And then buy some lamps. So I think there's absolutely no reason you can't keep that ceiling fan.
Yeah, the JVC has a lot of lens shift, so there's no problem with it. Hanging it down below, as far as it being able to not have to keystone or something to fit within the screen. You got piles of lens shift on that thing. So as long as it's not going to be hitting somebody's head, or make sure the throw distance is still going to work, it should definitely be doable.
All right. I know last week we went like super. Oh, anyways, he says he's also going to be needing a projector mount. So what do we suggest? We talked about this in the podcast already. So you want to like this week. So
Yep.
you want to go back to look
Carl.
at that Carl's question
Because
so,
he has essentially the same projector. I mean, it's the same size and the same weight. And it looks like you
So
might
Chief
need an
or
extension
Peerless?
tube too.
Yeah, Chief or Peerless is what
Chief
it's
or
gonna want
Peerless
there.
have very, very nice mounts, and then you will just need a ceiling plate and some 1.5-inch diameter pipe to the length that you want, or buy one of the pre-made ones that has adjustable heights to it.
That's right. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.